The message you've been waiting for, a divine revelation. My beloved child, this is not arriving by accident, and it's not arriving late. The message you've been waiting for could only reach you now, at this exact moment, when your mind is quiet enough to hear it and your heart strong enough to carry it. You've felt the pause. The waiting. The strange stretch of time where answers refused to come, no matter how much you searched. That wasn't neglect. That was alignment. Some truths can't enter a restless mind. Some revelations wait until the noise fades. And right now, the reason this message is landing so clearly is because you're finally ready to receive it without distortion. Don't skip this, because what's opening now isn't information, it's recognition. Something you already sense deep inside is about to be confirmed. For a long time, you were being shaped in ways no one else could see. While others measured progress by speed and visibility, your journey was unfolding inwardly, quietly, deliberately. You were learning patience without bitterness. Strength without display. Trust without guarantees. That kind of growth doesn't look impressive from the outside, which is why it's so often misunderstood. You may have wondered if you were falling behind, if you missed a window, if life moved on without you. But here's the revelation most people never hear. Some paths require invisibility before impact. You weren't being delayed, you were being prepared. Stay till the end of this understanding, because once it settles in, you'll realize why every unanswered moment protected you from stepping into something before you were ready to hold it. Now pay close attention to this feeling, this calm alertness, this sense that something meaningful is forming without force. That's not imagination. That's clarity arriving. Something huge is waiting for you, not at the end of exhaustion, but at the edge of awareness. The shift isn't dramatic, but it's decisive. From this point forward, you won't move the same way. You won't choose the same way. You won't doubt the same way. This message isn't here to excite you, it's here to steady you. Because what comes next doesn't require urgency. It requires presence. And the fact that you're still here, listening carefully, tells me everything I need to know. You're exactly where you need to be for what's about to be revealed. Right now, a deeper layer is opening, and it may feel unsettling because it challenges what you thought waiting meant. Waiting was never about standing still. It was about learning how to listen when nothing obvious was happening. You've been trained to recognize truth without noise, to feel direction without signs, to stay composed when outcomes weren't visible. That's why this moment feels different from all the others. You're no longer asking for answers, you're noticing them arrive quietly. Don't skip this, because what's being revealed now explains why impatience never suited you and why shortcuts always felt wrong. You were being tuned for precision, not speed. Here's the surprising realization most people miss: clarity often arrives after surrender, not effort. The moment you stopped forcing timelines, things began aligning. Conversations started making sense. Choices felt lighter. Even uncertainty lost its grip. That's not coincidence, that's coherence. You're beginning to see how everything connects, how delays protected you from missteps, how silence sharpened your discernment. This is the kind of understanding that changes how you move forever. Stay till the end, because once this clicks fully, you'll stop questioning your pace and start trusting your position. The message you've been waiting for isn't telling you to rush forward. It's confirming that you're exactly on track. Before this goes any further, take a breath. If this message is resonating, share it with someone who's been quietly waiting for clarity too. Subscribe if you want to stay connected to reminders like this, because noise returns quickly and focus matters. Leave a comment only if this reflects where you truly are, not because you're told to, but because recognition strengthens resolve. Something huge is waiting for you, and it doesn't arrive with chaos or pressure. It arrives with certainty. And the certainty you're feeling now is the signal that the revelation has already begun. A realization is settling in now, and it's changing the way you breathe, think, and wait. You're starting to understand that the delay wasn't empty time, it was instruction. Every pause trained your awareness. Every unanswered moment sharpened your instincts. That's why you're sensing direction without needing confirmation. You're no longer pulled by urgency or distracted by comparison. Something inside you knows when to move and when to stay still, and that knowing is calm, not anxious. Don't skip this, because this is where confusion dissolves and intention takes its place. What once felt like uncertainty is revealing itself as quiet guidance, steady and precise. You may notice that your reactions have slowed, but your clarity has accelerated. That's not coincidence. It's the result of inner alignment finally locking in. You're seeing through situations faster. You're recognizing patterns before they repeat. You're choosing responses that preserve your energy instead of draining it. This is the shift from effort to positioning, from chasing to attracting. The message you've been waiting for isn't pushing you forward, it's anchoring you where you are so you can move with purpose. Stay till the end of this understanding, because once this settles fully, you'll realize why rushing was never your path and why patience became your advantage. Here's the truth that completes this layer: nothing meaningful arrives when you're scattered. It arrives when you're centered. And right now, you are centered. Something huge is waiting for you, not behind noise or pressure, but behind consistency and awareness. The clarity you're gaining now will guide decisions that matter far beyond this moment. When the next step presents itself, it won't feel dramatic, it will feel obvious. And that's how you'll know the revelation is real. Not because it overwhelms you, but because it fits you perfectly. There is a stillness surrounding you now that feels intentional, like everything unnecessary has stepped back to make room. You're not searching anymore, you're observing. And observation reveals what effort never could. You're beginning to sense that this revelation isn't about adding something new to your life, but about removing what was never aligned. The clarity feels sharp, almost undeniable. You can tell when something resonates and when it distracts. This is the moment where inner certainty replaces external reassurance. Don't skip this, because this is where the message becomes personal. Where understanding turns into direction, and direction becomes momentum. What's surprising is how natural this shift feels once it arrives. You're not forcing discipline, it's emerging. You're not chasing meaning, it's organizing itself around you. This is what happens when patience matures into wisdom. The waiting taught you restraint. The silence taught you focus. And now, that focus is shaping outcomes quietly. If this message is helping you see your path more clearly, share it with someone who's been waiting without answers. Subscribe if you want to stay connected to reminders like this, because clarity needs reinforcement when the world gets loud. Leave a comment only if this reflects where you truly are, not out of habit, but recognition. Stay till the end, because this stage explains why everything had to unfold in this exact order. Here's what completes this revelation. What's coming next will not test your strength, it will trust it. Something huge is waiting for you, not behind urgency or struggle, but behind steadiness and awareness. When it arrives, you won't feel overwhelmed or surprised. You'll feel ready. That readiness is the sign that the message you've been waiting for wasn't meant to excite you, it was meant to align you. And alignment, once achieved, changes everything without making a sound. There is a quiet confidence taking shape inside you now, and it's different from anything you've felt before. It doesn't come from certainty about outcomes, it comes from trust in your own awareness. You're no longer trying to predict what will happen next. You're prepared to meet it. That shift alone changes everything. This is where fear loosens its grip, not because challenges disappear, but because you finally understand your capacity to face them without losing yourself. Don't skip this, because this is the moment where anticipation turns into composure, and composure becomes your advantage. You're beginning to notice how little you need to explain yourself these days. Decisions feel cleaner. Boundaries feel natural. Silence feels productive instead of empty. That's a sign of internal order. When your inner world settles, the outer world responds differently. Situations that once confused you now reveal their purpose quickly. Choices that once felt heavy now feel obvious. This isn't detachment, it's clarity matured through patience. Stay till the end of this realization, because once you fully accept this state, you'll stop doubting calm progress and start recognizing it as momentum in its most reliable form. Here is the truth that grounds everything you've heard so far: the revelation wasn't meant to rush you forward, it was meant to stabilize you before the next step appears. Something huge is waiting for you, and it doesn't require urgency or force. It requires presence. The version of you listening right now is no longer scattered, no longer reactive, no longer unsure. And when the next door opens, you won't question whether it's meant for you. You'll step through calmly, knowing the waiting shaped you exactly for that moment. There is a strange sense of readiness in you now, and it didn't come from answers, it came from endurance. You've stayed present through uncertainty long enough that it no longer unsettles you. Where others feel anxious in the unknown, you feel attentive. Alert. Calm. This is the stage where trust shifts inward, where you stop looking for confirmation outside yourself. You're not waiting to be told what's next, you're listening for when it's time. Don't skip this, because this is where intuition stops being a feeling and starts becoming guidance you can rely on. You may notice how your reactions have changed. You respond slower, but with more accuracy. You choose carefully, but without doubt. Even silence feels intentional now. That's because you're no longer driven by fear of missing out, you're guided by alignment. This is the kind of clarity that only forms when you've walked through confusion without panicking. The message you've been waiting for isn't dramatic. It's precise. It's teaching you that nothing meaningful is rushed, and nothing aligned needs to be forced. Stay till the end of this understanding, because once you fully recognize this shift, you'll realize why impatience was never part of your design. Here's what matters most in this moment: you are no longer preparing, you are positioned. Something huge is waiting for you, not somewhere far ahead, but at the exact intersection of awareness and timing. When it reveals itself, you won't feel overwhelmed or surprised. You'll feel steady, capable, certain. And that certainty will tell you everything you need to know, that the waiting wasn't a test of faith, but a process of becoming ready for what could only arrive now. A deeper calm is settling in now, the kind that doesn't come from certainty about the future, but from clarity about yourself. You're no longer pulled in 10 directions by expectations or noise. You can feel when something belongs in your life and when it doesn't, instantly, without debate. This is the moment where doubt loses its voice. Not because everything is clear, but because you trust your internal compass more than external opinions. Don't skip this, because this is where your awareness becomes stable enough to guide you through what's next without confusion or fear. You may notice how differently you experience pressure now. It doesn't overwhelm you, it sharpens you. Situations that once felt heavy now feel manageable, even purposeful. That's because you're no longer resisting the process, you're moving with it. The waiting taught you how to hold your ground. The silence taught you how to listen. And now, those lessons are merging into discernment. You're acting less, but with more impact. You're speaking less, but with more weight. Stay till the end of this understanding, because this is where most people misread calm as nothing happening. When in reality, everything important is locking into place. Here is what brings it all together: the revelation you've been moving toward is not an event, it's a state. Something huge is waiting for you, and it's waiting because you're finally consistent, centered, and ready to carry it without losing yourself. When the next step presents itself, it won't feel rushed or dramatic. It will feel inevitable. And in that moment, you'll understand why every quiet season mattered. Why every delay refined you. Why this message arrived now. Not to excite you, but to confirm that you are aligned, steady, and prepared for what comes next. There's a final clarity settling in now, like a lens snapping into focus. You're no longer scanning for approval or bracing for disappointment. You're present. Grounded. Certain in a quiet way that doesn't need reinforcement. This is where the message completes itself, not as a promise, but as an understanding you can carry anywhere. You're recognizing the difference between motion and progress, between attention and alignment. Don't skip this, because this is the moment when everything you endured rearranges into meaning. The waiting stops feeling heavy, and starts feeling necessary. You'll notice how decisions simplify. What once demanded debate now asks for honesty. What once pulled your energy now falls away without effort. This isn't detachment, it's discernment matured. You're choosing depth over display, precision over speed. Pressure no longer scatters you, it centers you. That's how you know the revelation is real. It doesn't inflate you, it steadies you. Stay till the end of this understanding, because this is where calm becomes your advantage and consistency becomes your signal to the world. Here's the truth that seals it: nothing is missing. Nothing is late. Nothing needs to be forced. Something huge is waiting for you, and it's waiting because you're finally moving from alignment instead of urgency. When the next step opens, it won't feel dramatic. It will feel right. And that feeling, clear, calm, undeniable, is the message you've been waiting for. A quiet certainty is anchoring itself now, the kind that doesn't fluctuate with outcomes or opinions. You're no longer rehearsing explanations in your head or bracing for resistance. You're present, attentive, and decisive in a calm way that feels new, but right. This is where understanding becomes embodied, where insight stops visiting and starts living with you. Don't skip this, because this is the threshold where inner clarity begins directing outer results without effort or force. You may notice how timing feels sharper. You sense when to engage and when to wait, without anxiety clouding the choice. Even challenges feel different, less like obstacles, more like signals. That's alignment at work. You're no longer trying to control the path, you're reading it. This is the shift from striving to stewardship, from pushing to positioning. Stay till the end of this understanding, because once this rhythm locks in, you'll recognize momentum even when it's quiet, and you'll trust it. Here's what completes the revelation: what's next doesn't need you to change who you are, it needs you to stay consistent with it. Something huge is waiting for you, not behind urgency or noise, but behind steady awareness and clean intention. When the moment arrives, it won't demand courage, you'll already be standing in it. And that's how you'll know the message wasn't just heard. It was received. What's happening now is subtle, but it's decisive. You're no longer circling questions, you're standing inside answers. Not because everything is explained, but because you recognize truth when it appears. This is the stage where hesitation dissolves and intention becomes clean. You can feel it in your posture, in your patience, in the way you don't rush to label what's unfolding. Don't skip this, because this is where readiness becomes visible, not to others first, but to you. And when you see yourself clearly, the path stops arguing with you. You're beginning to move differently through moments that once demanded effort. Choices feel lighter. Boundaries feel obvious. Silence feels purposeful. That's alignment at work. You're no longer spending energy proving direction, you're conserving it to follow direction. This is why timing feels sharper now, why you sense openings before they announce themselves. Stay till the end of this understanding, because this is the point where patience turns into leverage. You're not waiting anymore, you're allowing what's prepared to meet you at the right angle. Here's the truth that settles everything: the revelation wasn't meant to rush you forward. It was meant to stabilize you so the next step lands clean. Something huge is waiting for you, and it's waiting because you're finally steady enough to receive it without distortion. When it arrives, it won't feel dramatic or overwhelming. It will feel precise, familiar, earned. And in that moment, you'll know, this wasn't about becoming someone else. It was about arriving as yourself, fully ready. A final layer of understanding is settling in now, and it feels unmistakable. You're no longer searching for confirmation or replaying the past to make sense of it. The pieces have aligned quietly. You can feel the difference in how grounded you are, how little noise affects your direction. This is the moment where certainty becomes calm instead of intense. Where knowing replaces hoping. Don't skip this, because this is where the journey stops feeling unfinished and starts feeling intentional, like everything led here on purpose. You've reached a state where you trust your timing more than external pressure. Decisions no longer feel heavy because they're rooted in clarity. You don't rush clarity, and you don't doubt it when it arrives. That's rare. Most people confuse movement with progress. You've learned the opposite. You've learned that restraint creates strength, and patience creates position. Stay till the end of this understanding, because this is the stage where alignment protects you from distractions that once pulled you off course. Here's what completes it all: nothing else needs to be revealed to make you ready. You already are. Something huge is waiting for you, and it's waiting because you're steady enough to carry it without losing balance. When it finally unfolds, it won't shock you, it will feel familiar, like something you were always moving toward. And in that quiet recognition, you'll know the truth without needing proof. This message arrived not to change you, but to confirm that you've arrived exactly where you're meant to be.